So as expected, ladies and gentlemen, with the release of Madam Web and the complete clusterfuck that movie is, and the complete bomb in the box office that it's experiencing right now at $6 million opening day, which, I mean, I don't remember the last movie that I actually reported on that did $6 million. That's it in the first day. But still, this movie is so bad that the actresses in this film are now trying to essentially defend the film and defend the bait and switch that people are feeling towards the film by saying that this is supposed to be an origin story of Madam Web.
Sucker.
This is not supposed to be anything else other than a new origin story. This is the retelling of Madam Web. This is a brand new story for modern audiences. All the typical stuff you would expect to hear, we are now hearing from the actresses. And not only that, the people who made the film as well. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm as we're on our way to 32,000 subscribers, guys. I really appreciate it. So it says, according to star Isabella Merced, the fact that Madam Web bait and switched audiences with the promised appearance of 3 costume Spider-Women was not an error, but an intentional creative decision meant to reinforce the idea that the film is an origin story. Oh, interesting. I didn't even see this film, so I don't even know what kind of bait and switches they did. But the fact is, I'm not surprised that they bait and switch when it comes to female-led superhero films, right? Like, they're always going to try to do certain comic book nostalgia things to try to draw you in, and then once you're drawn in, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. They're going to subvert expectations like they always try to do. As seen across all the film's marketing materials, including its one and only trailer, much of the marketing focus for the ill-conceived entry in Sony's Spider-Man Without a Spider-Man universe centered on the costume appearances of his 3 protagonists, Anya Corazon, Julia Cornwall, and Maddie Franklin, otherwise known in the comics as Aranya, Spider-Girl 2, and Spider-Woman 3, and Spider-Woman 2. However, despite this focus heavily suggesting that the 3 heroines would spend at least some, if not a decent amount of their respective screen times in suit, the film's premiere would reveal that this portrayal of its contents was nothing more than blatant deception. Oh, so they just flat out lied, bro. They just flat out lied about the fact that these guys, these women were going to be in costume. I'm not really surprised about that at all, to be honest with you. And listen, again, they're going to try to do what they can to try to bait people who actually know the comic books and try to bait people into actually watching this film who may read the comic books. But you got to realize you're not the target audience, ladies and gentlemen. They're only going to virtue signal to you so much just to try to get you in the seat, just to try to convince you that, hey, maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this movie will actually be different from the nonsense you've been seeing for the last few years, which, by the way, you know, I don't mean to spoil anything, but guess what? It never is. It never is. Like this, it's never different. You're always going to keep experiencing the same nonsense. And again, like I said in my last video, I don't understand how Sony saw what the MCU was doing, saw what happened when they went full MCU and how much money they were losing and said, you know what? We're going to mimic that. That's clearly what we need to be doing. That's clearly what we need to mimic here. We will find success in their failure. I'm like, come on, bro. What are you doing? Stop it. It says in this film, Ezekiel dedicates himself to his mission of killing the Spider-Women after learning, courtesy of a vision granted to him by his own precognitive powers, that the trio were destined to not only foil his villainous plans, but also have a hand in his eventual death. However, as it is confirmed by the time the credits roll, the only moments the entirety of Madam Web that the girls actually appear in costume and using their powers are in Ezekiel's brief vision and a short teaser montage at the film's conclusion, which both combined occupies less than a full minute of its runtime. Oh, that's a bait and switch. That is a epic bait and switch. Nice. Oh my God. Throughout the rest of the movie, the trio are portrayed as nothing but regular teenagers, their first and likely only, given the film's reception, adventure coming to a close without even one of the girls having received their respective abilities in the present day. Now, you know what? Anybody who saw this movie, you guys honestly deserve to be bait and switch. You really do, because we've been telling you for ages now. We've been telling you that this movie was going to be terrible for many different reasons, right? We knew this film was going to be unsuccessful for the fact that they were doing the whole girl boss thing, for the fact that it was being remade for modern audiences, for the fact that the character that's in the movie is not the actual one of the comic books at all. Like, it's not even close. They're giving you some BS origin story, CW level production that they want to try to convince you is worth the movie ticket price, and it's not. You guys, if you saw this film, you must be either hardcore Madam Web fans, which I don't know why you would actually see this film if you were anyway, or you were tricked, or maybe you just wanted to see this film. I don't really know. Maybe you're a normie. Who really knows? But this film goes to show that when you give them the faith, they're going to do everything they can to screw you over. They will bait and switch you every chance that they get in the hopes to try to sell that one extra ticket. It says, and yet, despite the objective, bizarre, and bait and switch nature of this creative decision, the aforementioned Mercedes thinks it's one of the ultimately benefited Madame Web's experience as an origin story. Speaking to the Rap's Andy Ortiz on February 15th, Mercedes argued, when you're invested enough in the story, it's like those things don't really matter. You're kind of just like, what's the best for the story? And I think they did it for a reason, you know? This is supposed to be an origin story. Well, that's bullshit. When you're invested enough in the story, it's like those things don't matter. No, they do matter. They do matter. That's what's going to get you invested in the story. When you try to stick to canon's going to get you invested in the overarching story and make you want to come back for more. You can't be invested in the story and then say nothing else matters in the story. Just screw everything and do whatever the fuck you want. That just doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't be an origin story if we saw us in like half the movie with our suits on, she added. Like, that's in a little tease, and I like that it leaves people wanting more. Nobody wants more. Nobody wants more. Nobody even wants the first helping. Like I said in my last video, you have $6 million in your opening day. Nobody wants your first helping, let alone nobody wants more. Like, this is where they fail, right? They have illusions of grandeur all the time. They have this idea that people are going to love this bullshit that they're putting out. Like, there's no way people are not going to love it. There's no way people are not going to be for this girl boss Spider-Man movie. Everybody's going to want to come see it, guaranteed. We promise. And then you're going to be coming back for the second round. No, they're not. They're not even coming around for the first round. Let alone you got to sell the tickets on the first round first before you start worrying about who's going to come back for the second. You know, that's the problem. They're so busy worrying about the sequel, they're failing in the opening movie. It says, at this point, one would like to say that this move is as surprising as it is jaw-droppingly terrible, but given that the film came from the same studio that gave the world Morbius and earnestly tried to make everything from a Silver Sable movie to a Black Cat movie to an Aunt May movie, not out of creative desire, but simply to keep the film licenses and milk audiences' money, it's ultimately anything but that. Man, if they came out with an Aunt May movie, like, why would you want to go see an Aunt May movie? Like, who would Aunt May be for? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you even entertain that as a movie? Like, why would you even think that would be even an IP that people would be interested in? Maybe Black Cat. I can see people maybe wanting to see Black Cat, but even that is only because of the recent Spider-Man games. Like, nobody's going to want to see. You're choosing these characters that nobody gives a shit about. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other characters within the Spider-Man universe that many more people would care about, but you're choosing these weird one-off characters that just happen to all be female, by the way, with the exception of Morbius. Every other character is female. So you're focusing on these female characters because for some reason you saw what the MCU did and you thought that was a success story. I don't understand, man. I really don't understand. So we have another example of what happens when studios are not told that something is a terrible fucking idea, and this movie is a prime example of what happens when you don't tell somebody they have a bad idea. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.